Hi everybody, it's Maria from cardbomb.blogspot.com. Thank you for joining me today. I'm here today with the Creating Kindness design team, and we have both a blog hop and a video hop today, and the theme is texture. Today I've decided for my project that I would be using the new embossing paste from Stampin' Up. It comes in this container, and if you're going to buy it, it would be recommended to purchase the palette knives. It comes in a set of 3, and I have been finding that I tend to use this one. The first thing that you need to do is to tape down your black cardstock piece, and for this card, this piece of black cardstock is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I am going to just get this medallion centered so that it's just above the bottom but not touching that bottom line. And then I'm going to use these 2 circles on the sides to guide me to make sure that this is centered and straight. So the bottom is aligned, sides look pretty good, and I'm going to tape this guy down. Don't want that mask to slide or move at all when I'm applying the embossing paste, because if it moves at all, it's going to ruin my image. So this is the embossing paste. When you open it up, it does come a bit empty, and that's because you have to have room to get your palette knife in there, but also because the product settles a bit during shipping. So, you know, don't worry about it. You're getting the amount you are supposed to be getting. Even if it's not totally full. Now, warning, this stuff dries really, really fast, so even just right now I'm going to put the lid set back on top, and here we go. I prefer this large palette knife because I feel like I can get even coverage across my card all at once. I want to get it on there nice and thick today. So you might have to go both directions in certain places. Make sure you fill in all of the little gaps in the mask. Okay, I'm going to put my lid back on, and I'm done with that. Now, I mentioned that this stuff dries very, very quickly. Something that I have found works for me is that I immediately wipe my tools down with a wet wipe. I always have a container of wet wipes, alcohol-free wet wipes in my craft room, because I will wipe down my stamps with these before I clean them with our Stampin' Scrub as well. So look, I've been able to get it all off and there's no residue. I'm going to quickly lift this up. And there you can see this beautiful design. And I'm going to set that aside just for a second so that I can wipe down this mat before I stick it straight into water. This is a really big, I'm telling you this for a reason. If you let these sit, it will be really tough to get clean. And I have found actually that these wipes seem to be getting my tools cleaner than just sticking them straight into the sink. I'm going to show you the reason why I'm telling you this. Can you see, maybe if I move this, can you see the residue on this? I don't know if you can, but there's quite a bit of residue on here, and I have scrubbed this, and it's not ruined by any means. It just doesn't look new, and I try to keep my stuff looking new. So this is what looking new looks like. Super shiny and glossy, and you can see there's just stuff all over this one. So I recommend wiping them down right away and getting them into the sink. So I'll be right back. We are going to let this guy dry. Will only take a few minutes, and then I'll be back to show you how I got them colored. Okay, now that your mask has dried, you're going to get some sponge daubers on the colors of your choice. Today I've chosen to use Bermuda Bay and Daffodil Delight, and you're going to sponge your embossed image but you're going to make sure you start with your lighter color first. So for me today, that's Daffodil Delight. And tap, just tap, 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 tap. Don't rub because you don't want to ruin your sponge and you don't want to end up with the embossing paste in your ink pad. And then another thing I was going to tell you is that because I'm using black paper, I can just sponge right on the top, which is great because it's, you know, I don't have to be careful of getting the ink onto the black paper. But if you're using white paper, you can just simply lay your mask back on top of your paper and use it as a mask for sponging as well. So do the embossing paste, wash your tools, put your clean mask back over, and sponge using your mask to protect your white or any other colored paper. What I'm hoping, I haven't really tried this color combo before, but what I'm hoping is that the yellow and the Bermuda Bay are going to look really good together, but that when they, on the spots where they get blended in together, they're going to make kind of a cool greenish color. I think that's what will happen. The more ink that you put, obviously the more saturated it will look. You can go lighter, you can go darker, just to your preference. And I am making sure I get a lot of yellow because once I use the Bermuda Bay, I'm not really going to want to go back in with my yellow because I don't want to contaminate my yellow sponge dauber. That's good. So remember, just press and blot as opposed to sponging like you might normally do if you were sponging the edges of paper or an image. The first card that I did, I actually used a spritzer to apply the color. On this card, first I used a spritzer with the lemon lime twist and the island indigo, and it looked really neat, but what happened was a week later I realized that the color had faded, and I ended up going back and reapplying color with sponge daubers, and I decided that when I shared this project I would just go ahead and use the sponge daubers in the first place. I'm just dabbing to get some lighter color here. It doesn't all have to be saturated, intense color. All right, I'm happy with that. So we're going to let that dry and I will show you the next step. Okay, I just realized that I wanted to show you something. I'm pretty fussy about all the little details on my cards, and I noticed that I had some funky edges and I was just trimming the edges of the embossing paste that were hanging over. And if you can see, can you tell right here? I know my fingers are inky. Can you tell right here there's a rough edge? So I'm just going to go ahead with my snips and just snip it straight. So now, there we go. Now it's perfect. No more rough edges. The other thing that I wanted to show you was that off camera, when I was peeling this up off after applying the embossing paste, actually, I had a big mess, right? And I ended up grabbing my paper to pull it off of the table, and I stuck my fingers into the embossing paste, and I messed up part of my project. And down here and right here, there were just some patches of the paste that I scraped off. There was a tiny bit of white residue, but the reason why you can't really see, you can see only if I get a glare on the cardstock. The reason why you can't see the whiteness that was there was because I went ahead and I colored it with my Stampin' Write marker. So if you have any little imperfections that you're really not happy with, you can pretty much fix everything on black cardstock. So make sure to have your basic black Stampin' Write marker close at hand, and make sure to have your snips close by so that if you have any kind of funky edging, it's really easy to trim off. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do on this project, we're going to add some clear Wink of Stella. And I will speed this up so that you don't have to watch me do this entire card. But one thing that I want to say first is that I've noticed that when I add the clear Wink of Stella, it brings the color out a bit more. It's like it saturates it. And you do want to have a paper towel close by because the Wink of Stella, can you see, does pick up some of the color. And so I recommend, if you care about color contamination on your card, like if you're happy where it's laid out, you're going to want to start with the lighter color. So that in my case, that's the Daffodil Delight. And then I will move on to doing more of the Bermuda Bay. This does matter if you get it on the cardstock because it's so sparkly that if you get a lot on the cardstock, it's going to be pretty obvious. It's going to be like when you overglue a project and it smushes out the sides. So just be careful with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and color this whole thing lighter color first, and I'll speed up the camera so that you aren't bored watching me. Okay, in order to put your card together, you're going to need the card face that you just created, and the measurements again for that piece were 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. You'll need to mat that on a mat of Daffodil Delight in 4 inches by 5 1/4, and the card base is Bermuda Bay, standard size A2, oriented horizontally. That's all for today. Thanks for joining me, and remember to check out the rest of the Creating Kindness design team on our blog hop and video hop today. See you all soon. Thanks for stopping by. This is Maria signing off.